Yo, we're back with another episode of Sandbox Mode. Today we're talking about software we love but hate to pay for, why Framer might just be the designer's dream, the never-ending Adobe ecosystem, and how AI is becoming our creative sidekick. Let's get into it.
All right, screw it. Let's just do it. We're doing it. We're live. Well, not really live. We're recording. Welcome. This is Sandbox Mode. I'm Jarrett.
I'm Reggie. Great to meet you. Question for you. What software would you use if it were not for their horrible business model?
What
Or maybe
software
let
would
me
I?
not say horrible business model, but just something about their business model does not sit well with you.
I'm gonna have to think. You have one on your mind?
Mine would be Airtable.
Okay.
I
Why
love
Airtable?
Airtable.
Tell me.
I love Airtable so much. It does everything that I want out of a database, but everything that I love is hidden behind a paywall. So it is the upgrade to this, upgrade to this. You
Yeah,
need this, you
yeah,
need this, you need this. It's almost this like hub spoke model of, and I could be wrong, they may have changed this,
yeah.
but at the time it felt like I had like they piecemealed their upgrades, and so I had to like figure out what I wanted to pay for in order to get the experience that I liked. And it was just
Yeah.
it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun to do. I was like, just give me one flat fee to pay for everything, or like give me everything I
So,
need for free.
I'm glad you brought that up because I started actually investigating Airtable because I've been trying to dive into understanding like the world of AI agents and like things that you build there. A lot of the recommendations are to use like Airtable as your database. I haven't legitimately used Airtable probably since like 2020 or so, where I used to use it for everything. And then, I went down through that path of just like downgrading out of all of the tools. It was like, I don't need any of these things. Like, this is cool. It's making things convenient, but I'm actually spending way more time at the managing of my life versus like the living of my life to creating things. But I literally opened up Airtable the first time this week to figure out like what's going on. And I'm looking at them now and I see $20 per seat per month, 50,000 records, 25,000 automation runs. Well, there's Airtable AI. Okay. So we'll see. I
Too,
may
man.
check it
I
out.
love it. Then I have a grudge against Adobe,
Okay.
not because they did anything wrong, but because, I think I signed up for something that I thought I wasn't paying for, but then when I started paying for it, I couldn't get out the contract. It was one of those like,
Yeah.
it's like, yes, this much per year, and we'll bill you monthly. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that was happening. I was just young and stupid, and I held a grudge for them for a long time. It was like, it was really difficult to get out of an Adobe contract.
Yeah.
Never
See,
again.
I'm weirdly, that brings up an interesting topic because I'm weirdly starting to really like Adobe tools after I hated them forever.
I've
And
been hearing
like,
that. I've been hearing
yeah,
that around. That's been on the block. Yeah.
yeah,
Adobe's
like
there.
I've played with After Effects in the past. I think it's just two things which has made After Effects this go around be way more fun. One, just having a really high power computer, so I don't have to like wait so long for things. But two, there is that aspect of using AI tools, using like ChatGPT for help. Their internal tools have gotten a lot better from like the first time I tried it. But Illustrator, like I was having fun in Illustrator using their recolor feature or a lot of like just the cool things that they have in there for completing your design work. But the big thing I would say with Adobe's tools is the UI is so like just complicated to get into. Like it's just a difficult thing to grasp. But I think having like a little chat GPT on your side to help you like more directly say, hey, I want to do this. Help me navigate through these menus that have 100 different items to select from and help me figure out
Yeah.
what I'm doing. That's the big thing. It's just so many menus, so many like options to do. Everything's hidden behind like 3 layers. Yeah, having AI tools to help. And the more I can see them, I think that would be my recommendation for them. The more you can like actually integrate like that type of help to get things accomplished. And not just and that's the thing that I like about really like about AI tools is when they're helping me accomplish the things that are in my head versus them just doing everything for me.
Sure, for the person that lives and breathes Adobe, it works out really well. Right? Like if you're in the ecosystem, then I think that's legit.
Yeah.
I think I try everything in my power to not get in that ecosystem because it only takes a little bit. He's like, I only need After Effects. And then you get into
Yeah.
After Effects and you get this roadblock of like, yes, After Effects could do this thing, but this other Adobe app can really do the
Hmm.
thing. And then you get into two apps and then you get that same roadblock. Next thing you know, you got like, you're switching between six Adobe apps. And I'm sure it's super
Yeah.
convenient, but it's also a pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's become my world more and more. I'm shooting more, starting to shoot again. So I'm back in Lightroom. Or like if I need to, or if I'm doing something, I pull down an image from like Midjourney. I'll go and I'll take that image first. I'll take that image out of Midjourney. I'll upscale it using this tool, Topaz Photo. And then I'm bringing it into Lightroom to like do like my color correction, color changes and things like that. And then I may pop it over into Figma just to do the UI. Now, I would say, one tool, I would say Figma does get on my nerves more and more. Just because I would
Not what I
love for
thought you were going to
them.
say.
Nah, yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot more that I want it to do as a design tool and as like a building tool. But what I would say is their roadmap has led them more down like an enterprise tool of being like the tool for the whole organization to manage the shipping of products. And it hasn't really focused as much on expanding like my ability as like a design creator to ship products. I've picked up Framer recently, and Framer is magical. Like Framer operates like Figma, but then you can just press the button and press play and it's shipped.
ChatGPT just told me to get on Framer. We were talking about Webflow templates. I was like, yeah, I want to do Webflow for X, Y, and Z. And they're like, yeah, this is cool. But also Framer. It was just like, hey, you already know Figma. You're already working in that space.
Yeah.
What you need does not need the power of Webflow, even though, you have a loving relationship with that platform. That's great.
Hmm.
However, you don't need the CMS. You don't need the hefty e-commerce. You don't need this. Like just design what you need in a very Figma-like environment and to your point, press the button. It's like, well, shit. All
Well,
right.
I'm actually very impressed by their by their feedback because that's a similar feedback I would give you. Like if I'm making decisions between like whether it's going to be a Framer project or a Webflow project, it's going to be on like how complex is it. There are things you can do within Webflow where you're referencing different CMS tables and like how complicated you can make like the logic within there that you can't do in Framer. And I know they've been making some upgrades on like what you can reference, but the Real Dope Design site that I made like has a very complex like CMS infrastructure behind there of like references and stuff like that where I was like, I couldn't do this here. But if it's not complex, like I was doing there, I'm going to jump for Framer because it literally is like in Webflow, just getting something where you want it to be, you have to go in there, you have to move all the padding, you have to do all these different things. Framer, you just kind of drag it around and like it will do the work for you of making the thing be where you want the thing to be. Yeah.
Kind of argument.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, there's no argument. I would say I agree with the advice that ChatGPT gave you on their recommendation of Framer these days, and they've come a long way because I've tried Framer about every 2 years. I've tried Framer.
You've been pushing Framer on me for a minute, for a hot minute of
Yeah,
framing. I was like, all right. And so I always go in just enough to do like a tutorial or to like, kind of click around, but I never go further than that because my website design days have been behind me for a while. So anytime I think about picking back up freelance and working with contracts, working with clients, and I know they're going to ask me for a website.
hmm,
I almost always go like, "Oh yeah, I got you. Let me go back to dust off Webflow." But then I go to Webflow, and everything has changed. Everything in that space in the last 4 years has dramatically changed. And like foundationally, I can still navigate around the space,
yeah,
but it would take so much for me to really be able to leverage the power that something like Webflow brings to the table. And if now, the more lightweight option is Framer, I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, let me just learn that real quick."
yeah. I mean, the last thing I would say about Framer and why I really like it now is it's just fun to use. Like it's actually like fun. Like it doesn't like get in your way. And then there's like so many like cool, like you can get components from different people just to like do cool stuff within your website. And it's literally, it just feels fun to build with because it's like some of the aspects, something, after designing software for a while, where I don't feel like I'm having a lot of fun in Figma, or like sometimes I hate prototyping in Figma because I'm like, why am I even doing all this? They're not even gonna even do this, or like they may screw it up, or they don't want to invest in me making these types of interactions. But it's like I go in Framer, I build these interactions, then I press the button and they work. So it's exciting to actually make things happen in there because it's real. That freedom and that feeling of Figma, where it is like I can just move stuff around and just put things where I want to. You don't have to like deal so hard with the box model and like moving things around like a developer. Still feel like I'm a designer as opposed to like a visual developer when I'm in Framer versus when I'm in Webflow. So check it out. We'll come back to this one in a couple episodes. What was your best purchase of the year?
Purchase of the year. Did you know we have a chat on here? We didn't play around with this studio chat last time. I'm going to put this in the chat.
I see a glass soap dispenser set.
How beautiful this is. I went around this purchase here for weeks because it seems so stupid. And then I got it anyway because I was just tired of like either figuring out whether or not to like shit or get off the pot. And since I've gotten it, the family goes through, like this is right here at the kitchen sink. Once a week, the kids or my wife is like, hey, this is a fantastic purchase. I love this. And just for the compliments alone, this has gotten the most value in the house. This has been
Most value in the
this is
household.
most value in the household, period. Not even selflessly. Selfishly, I love these. So I go to Costco and I get like the big like tubs of hand soap and dish soap. I haven't had to replace it all this year. It's the most dad answer I can give you right now. That's me.
I mean, but that's everyday design in your life. One, you have the labels, because that's a common issue with these things, is that people use the dish soap on their hands and the hand soap on the dishes. So you got the label. That's part one. Part two, it's allowing you to mass purchase without having to leave like the ugly dish soap on the counter. And things aren't as jumbled up. There's not a cluster around it. It solves a problem. It's everyday design.
I love it. It has been the purchase of the year.
Okay. Cool. Well, mine goes down that same path. So my purchase of the year is the Brother P Touch. This is a label maker. This is like, I would say, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, it was the top one on Wirecutter, so I bought it. But what I like about it, and I probably don't need this one. What I like about this one is, I mean, you can just come up to the thing and type in here and just, write whatever label you want. But what I actually enjoy the most is that with the software on the computer, I can use whatever font I want. So I'm deep into typography. So like you can design the labels. So like I've labeled like all the boxes in our attic. I have like a specific design that I have saved for like storage items. Then I have like the design that I use for, and I'm gonna grab it because screw it.
That's how you know it's real.
Yeah,
You
man.
know it's real when it's let me get off camera real quick and grab this.
Boom. Like this is
Wow,
my
all right.
cleaning supplies thing. So it's just like, so I have like these little cartons. These are like these hay cartons all around my office just to sort the items. So got the label maker, so I can constantly and very easily sort the items, start labeling the wires, start doing that. The label maker. So I think we went down the same path of just better organization.
The label making is a hack. Like it's the best hack. I got a label maker for the kids just because they're into like just
Yeah.
I mean, everybody loves label makers. And so there was a year where the Christmas gifts were inexpensive, highly practical doodads that
Yeah.
you would otherwise have stolen out of the kitchen. And now it's yours. Right, here you go.
You have your version now.
Now you have yours. I think I used it more than the kids. It just makes you want to organize things, to have a reason to use it. Like, oh, I'm going to separate these socks by color so that I have my white sock drawer, my black sock drawer. You can't help it. It's a beautiful
Yeah, I mean,
invention.
the last thing I did with it, I have I had like a bag, two like big old bags just full of like cables. So between
Full
like
of what?
cables, like different like cables or wires from like USB to USB A to USB C. Then I have audio cables, and I have a ridiculous amount of HDMI cables. For some reason, I feel like I just kept buying them. I don't need them anymore. So the last thing I did was I basically just like sorted those. It was like, okay, let's just get an audio cable bag, a USB-C cable bag, USB-A cable bag, and just like sorted them that way. And now,
Nice.
that saves who knows how much time, just because I can just grab the cable out of the bag versus like grab the full big ass bag and try to find the cable I need from that specific area.
Organization is big. You don't think about it. You don't think about, or at least I didn't think about organization being such a foundational part of, I guess, just efficiency, right? Like
Yeah.
you add up these seconds that you save looking for something over time, and it's a lifetime of hours and minutes of like, oh, where did I put this thing? Just if you design a spot for it to begin with, then you get that time back and lessons we learn in our 40s,
See,
right?
yeah. I mean, as I was scanning through like my list of things I purchased, I was like, all these things are boring, but that's what they were. Like it was like a pull out, like the guts for like a pull out cabinet to like convert one of my kitchen cabinets into something I could pull, so I don't have to bend over to the bottom thing and search for the pot. I just pull the thing out, grab it. So like I spent a lot of money on stuff like that, like, just to make my life way more simple.
Because it makes you feel good every time you use the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I go and I use my little hand soap or dish soap, I'm like, damn, this was a good purchase. This is it. This is a consistent reminder. I'm going through my Amazon wish list now. I would say top runner up. I got one of those phone holders for running.
Okay, so on your arm.
Yeah. Just a little arm strap for going on a jog. And the reason it's runner up is because it was a sign of maturity. I'm just patting myself on the back here.
Okay.
My watch was my jogging buddy. I didn't like that. I couldn't carry the phone with me at the time, so
Mm-hmm.
watch was a real big part of, I'm just going to go out. The battery power will be fine. I can stream music and podcasts from the watch
Mm-hmm.
all while I'm jogging and like getting all this data. And then it stopped because it's an old watch. I think it was like
Yeah.
Apple Watch 4.
Yeah, mine's getting old too.
Man, right. And I mean, it's held up for a long time, right? So credit to the older
Mm-hmm.
watches. The old me would have said, time for a new watch. And would have gone out and gotten like the Apple Watch 60, right? Whatever the newest big
Mm-hmm.
bezel like watches out there because I need something for my jog. And then I found out, I was like, no, I think it's only like just dropping and disconnecting because it's not connected to the Wi-Fi anymore. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
asking too much, right? I'm asking you to like track my GPS.
Yeah.
I'm asking you to stream the music. I'm
Yeah.
asking you to
Just
record
too much
the
things to
workout.
process.
Too much for an Apple Watch 4. And so I got that little arm strap and it is the most minor of inconveniences in terms of having it strapped on my arm. Like after 30 seconds, I don't even realize that it's there. And I've been able to continue with my runs without like shelling out another couple hundred
Yeah.
dollars for a new watch. And it's like, okay, these are the type of
There you go.
financial decisions
Yeah.
that lead to just like better habits overall. And that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I didn't mean for that. I didn't mean for that to be that
No,
long of a story,
that's
but
fine because
I just saw it.
now
It's
like you
cool.
made me think. So I've been actually debating. I was actually trying to go down the path of getting rid of my Apple Watch, of just like completely being done with it.
Yeah.
So, I started looking at like the Aura rings and like stuff like
Same.
that. But
Same.
then I realized why I'm not letting it go. I started paying attention to my workouts. So I go running, I go to the gym, I do all those things. I can't look at my run on a ring. I can't see how far I've gone. Like that's very important for me.
But
Like,
it's supposed to be like all on the app, right?
yeah, but that means I have to, while I'm running, instead of going like this, I have to pull out my phone and figure out what's happening. That's where it was like,
That's
oh,
a
this is
good
a done
call.
deal.
Yeah.
So I think really where I'm going, where what I decided mentally, just 'cause I'm kind of tired of wearing it, and like I bought like a $20 little fake gold Casio watch that I like. So I feel like I think I'm going down the direction of being a watch guy, but the Apple Watch is just going to be something I pull out for workouts.
That's fair.
Yeah. But like,
That's fair.
I can't let go of having the UI for like my actual like working out. Like,
I think, because I've been debating this as well, and I think I'm going to go the opposite route.
hmm
I like I like watches. I was getting into watches right
hmm
before I got the Apple Watch, and the Apple Watch became my everyday wear. Cool. I think I'm going to remain with that because I mostly use the Apple Watch to remind me when I have meetings coming up because I get into rabbit holes and I forget that I have a
don't give
minute.
me reasons. Don't give me reasons to keep my watch on.
I'm just saying, the only time that I
Yeah.
want a real watch is
Yeah, I mean, leaving the
for
house,
events.
going out. Yeah, going
Yeah,
out
yeah,
for
yeah,
events
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, letting it go.
Exactly. If it weren't for how often I lose my phone, that's the other reason. It's the meetings and it's the phone. If you can give me a good analog watch that can give me a phone tracker, just that's it. That's it. Give me an analog watch and give me like a little hidden button where I can, well, shit, I lost my phone again.
There you
Thanks.
go. There you go. So you need
That's it. You
that.
got
You
me.
need
That's
that
it.
that one or two. So I mean, hey, there could be a market there for like the one or two features that
I don't
people are
understand
actually
why
using
Apple
on the
doesn't do it.
watches. I have a question for you. What's the most interesting thing that you've done with like GPT? You've brought it up a couple of times, but more specifically, like what would you say is like one of the most interesting things you've done with it or like use cases that you've had?
I think the most fun thing I did with ChatGPT has been, hey ChatGPT, here go all the things that I can cook with in my
Mm,
fridge and cabinet right now. Give me some good dishes. That was fun. That was like in my very early part, my very early start with ChatGPT to just figure out what it could do. Lately, though, I've been using ChatGPT as a bit of an advisor on shaping up the business aspects of my more recent interest in
hmm
mixed reality and 3D development because I don't know much about the industry, and so I should have a mentor, right? This is what I
Yeah.
would get if I were to
Yeah.
attend a traditional class, if I were to go somewhere and have a teacher or an instructor. They would at least bring in people that are familiar with the field or people that are doing this full time. Like, hey, here goes advice along with technical skill of learning these platforms. And so I'm getting all of the technical skill from these different tutorial platforms, all these different classes, and that's great. And then my conversations go to ChatGPT, like, okay, can you talk to me about workflow? Can you talk to me
hmm
about how to shape a career around what I'm interested in? Because one thing I'm learning about UX is as much as I like UX, the deeper I get into corporate America, the more it becomes about office politics, the more it becomes
Yeah.
about relationship building, and
Yeah.
the more it becomes about advocating for different solutions, or hell, advocating to even prioritize different problems, right?
Yeah.
And and that's a different game in and of itself, and that's fine. I'm grateful for it because that's what's paying the bills, right? That's the
Yeah.
salary. But long story long, to have something to get into just for the love of design, but then be unfamiliar with that industry, that's what I'm really leveraging ChatGPT for, and that's really been eye-opening. So the most interesting use case for me is using ChatGPT as an advisor or mentor
Yeah.
in an industry I'm unfamiliar with.
Yeah. That's the thing that I find too. Like it really, as a person, I think both me and you, we've always been people that have been trying to pick up new skills, figure out things, um, and just the speed that I can operate in picking up new things or like banging ideas around, with it as like a partner. I think like, in my system setting, like it was like, you're my creative partner. Like we work
Yeah.
together, we collaborate together. Sometimes I send you off to go do and go formulate some ideas. And then like, I'm the person that then I'll start changing things up about it. And that's always been like how I've treated it. But and like small things, for instance, like after, as I was getting After Effects, I was like, I need file organization advice. How should I set up these files? And like, I, work with it to figure out like what's a good flow. And it's like, hey, here are the cameras that I have. Should I separate it by footage? Should I separate it by this? And it's been good to like say, this is what I intend to do. What I need your help with is helping me figure out an organization system or structure. So that's been like, I've done that with like just organizing my computer. That's been
Nice.
helpful. I asked it for help organizing like my kitchen and things like that. But I think one of the most recent use cases that I found, was very helpful is just like I think I was talking, as I was working a contract and like just dealing with like some of the issues. I was like, I want you to be a career coach and therapist for me as I'm like venting out some of my frustrations and helping me to manage the situation where, these are things that, could have took me way longer just figuring out myself. But it's like, no, I can bounce these ideas off of here. Again, I'm not treating their solutions as these are like the 100% thing that it should be, but it's helping me to like quickly work my brain through things versus like me having to just figure it out myself. So it is like having like a partner, having like someone just around that I can like bounce ideas off of. Or like my actual partner, she was busy, like I would have typically like bugged her. It's like, hey, can you come here so I can just like talk to you about this? And it's like, okay, well, let me just talk to this thing so I can like,
Yeah,
and then
that
I talk to her
worries
later
me.
about it. It
That
is.
worries me a little bit, right? From an interpersonal relationship building
Mm-hmm.
standpoint, these are some now missed opportunities
Yep.
to build. And they're all kind of innocent and kind of one-off situations. But you're right. I'm having a lot of conversations here that I have deemed as conversations my partner would rather
Yep.
not want to have.
Yeah.
Like ChatGPT, you have like I'm now paying premium, so now you're going to really get conversations. Before I was kind of taking it easy. Now, it's I wonder what that does to us long term when
It's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be tough for our children, right? Right now, there's the male loneliness epidemic. There's all types of just issues on just like interpersonal relationships.
yeah,
But,
yeah,
those of us that, this is something that we've had for like 2 years, and like the probably I guess what 40 years I had before that, I did not have this tool. So I was able to develop some interpersonal relationship skills where
yeah,
it is that, or develop a relationship with my partner, develop a relationship with other people. But I saw, you think about this new era coming up, they're gonna be raised with these tools. This is where, the future is gonna be very interesting. It's a little scary, it's a little it's a little bit of everything and just where we're headed. But just like how do we, you know, help our children, be able to have like human connections, and things like that.
yeah, yeah. You and I talked a little bit about how positively encouraging a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
tools are, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I if we're using ChatGPT as the kind of
Yeah.
quintessential example here, I mean, I'm thankful for the kind of experience design they built into this because it is very hey, that's a great idea. And how about X, Y, and Z? Like, yes, that sounds great. What about
Good
this?
job,
Like,
boss.
good job, good job. You came up with that idea all by yourself.
You're so smart.
You
Yes, I
so
am.
beautiful. That's what it is. That's what it is. And that's great. I don't know. I haven't really tested how. I haven't tested what it does if you like really toss some malicious ideas out there, right?
Yeah.
I have had ChatGPT encouragingly disagree with me before, like, well, that's an interesting path, Reggie, but how about you consider X, Y, and Z? And it doesn't take much for me to be like, no, fuck you, I want to do this way. They're like, okay, suit yourself. But I'm happy about that because my daughter has kind of gotten into I don't know if it's character AI, but she has gotten onto I want to say ChatGPT, and she's been having these conversations. And right now, she reaches the end of her quota. She's like, "Oh, I've talked to ChatGPT too much. I can't talk to them no more." I was like, "Okay, we're gonna leave that quota in place."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's there, and that's like the parent responsibility stuff, right? And that's probably an app that's not on that list, and where like the quota is helpful for you versus like the turning it
Oh my
off.
gosh, I have time limits on Instagram and Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. Unintentionally, I've been sharing something with them on one of these platforms. Like, oh, this is a funny video. Come here, sit down and watch this with me, and we'll be watching it. It's been a positive ripple effect because there have been times where they'll come up and they'll take a look at my phone to see something that I'm showing them, and my time limit will pop up. Like, all right, you reached your time limit for the day. That's it. And they're like, why do you have this on your phone? I said, because even for adults, this can be addictive. I don't know how much time I've spent on social media scrolling. Next thing I know, I've spent an hour, 2 hours here. So even if I ignore the limit, I know that I'm a lot more conscious of how much time I'm spending on the app, and to see them sort of pick that habit up. Reagan just got her phone for Christmas, and one of the first things she did was she went into some of these social media apps and just started setting time
Nice.
limits for herself. She's like, I think this is good. I think this is good. I was like, any time limit is fine. Any time limit, whatever
Yeah.
you want it to be. Starting off, it's holiday break. Go for it. Just try to put some limit on there. She's like, all right, here I go.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. I mean, teaching her to be intentional with her time and intentional with just the usage of your time. I mean, that's a
oh my
big thing. It's
gosh.
like, you can think of just times where it's just like you weren't paying attention. It's just like, oh man, I've been a potato for 14 hours on this couch. Now some days are good for that, but you want to at least be intentional
Yeah,
with is this a potato day or do I have other things I want to do?
right, right, right. I don't know. I'm going to use that to leapfrog into the kids and the AI
Mm-hmm.
because I've been excited about working with them in Mid-Journey. Less so, to your point earlier, less so about the conversational bots because I think that's more murky waters for kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hell, I think that's murky waters for adults. But from a kid perspective, they're loving image generation. We haven't gotten
Mm-hmm.
much into video generation, but we are. That's on my plan. And I've kind of kept it in that creative world
Mm-hmm.
of let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about prompts, let's talk about how we can kind of refine these prompts and get something to brainstorm. And then we start taking some of that stuff into Figma and into Blender or into Unity.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now let's really like make the thing. And we're still kind of early in that phase, but the mid-journey stuff has been fun, and the kids really love getting into it. And for them, especially my younger daughter, for them that is AI, right? It's less so the conversational bots, it's more so the content generation. And I'm like, okay, this is the AI world I want you to play in, right? If for as much as I could be a parent giving you guidelines and giving you boundaries,
Yeah.
I would sooner have you in here than over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I mean, they're in, it's a creation tool, and it's in the fact that they're now also starting to learn like, oh, I can take this into something else. Like it helps you, and I like that approach because it helps you like just sometimes you spend so much time just getting the thing out your head that is just stuck in your head, and then you can use a tool like Midjourney to jump that gun, get it out your head, and then figure out what you want to do next with it. What aspect what aspect is this image going to take within like whatever you're making? Is it an art project? It's a design project. I think that's the thing I like. I like using these tools as part of the process, but not like the singular element in a process. That's kind of the approach I try to take for the most part. It's just like this is a part of like something like I'm at least gonna go. I've been using it for like making some cool album covers, for getting some singles out, and where that helps me is that like I'm gonna overthink the design of some of these album things, but now I can pop up these things in Midjourney. Then like I do some editing, whether it's some color correction, or I think like when I have some more time, really want to do is probably do more collage work or like integrating multiple things. That's where I really want to take it. But it's definitely been a fun tool to use.
I think that's hard to state. When AI first came out, the big question was, well, what do I do with this? And the
Mm-hmm.
answer is like, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really, that's hard to wrap your mind around, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about a dozen different use cases in this talk alone.
Yeah.
And I think that that's hard to kind of market, and so you end up with all of these different folks that are leveraging AI for all these different reasons. But the one thing I keep hearing said over and over is that it's just another tool. And so you talk to
Mm-hmm.
different creators out there, and it becomes like, oh yeah, I use this tool here with the other tools that I already use as a part of my craft. So from a creator economy standpoint, this is a
Yeah.
fantastic era. It is a very tough era for anyone that is in like secondary education, primary education, right? Because
Yeah.
high school students are
Yeah.
like running the gamut with this. And these are like teenagers don't care, right? Yeah, adults that are creating content, absolutely. Teenagers that are writing, essays.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a deeper element to that too. It's like that's also it's where it's like we have to truly rethink
Yeah.
rethink. Like, I think these tools are going to force, well, who knows, they're going to force it. I mean, we don't have the greatest education system here, but we should
Right.
be
You're right.
rethinking what it is. Like, what is high school, what do all these grades look like, where this becomes a part of the process, or just like, if we want to find out what the kid is doing, it's not just sending them home and just doing an essay. Like, it
Yeah.
is like moving
Yeah.
up deeper. I mean, what's tough is, like, you can do a lot of analysis. So I was about to say moving up higher on like Bloom's taxonomy, but no, you can do some good analysis of things using these tools, but just figuring out like what is the right way to assess their knowledge. What are the important things that they should be uncovering at that time? What is the marker of you've been a good student and you can be a good person in the rest of your life, or like some people used to say, a productive member of society, or
Right.
raise shareholder value.
Yeah, right. No, it is. It's exactly that, right? I think about the kids that you might have been this kid. I think I was this kid. Think about the kids who learned how to game the system in high school, right? Where you could get on, I'm gonna date myself and say Encarta
Mm-hmm.
Encyclopedia,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like look up a thing and say, oh, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna reword as much as
Yep.
possible, and I'm gonna submit this. And then you came to find out, oh shit, all I was doing was paraphrasing. I was
Yeah.
paraphrasing this entire article, and they're like, yeah, if you paraphrase 5 articles, that's called research. It's like, shit, well, that's there we go, right? They're like, yeah, just cite these 5 articles and you're good. And you end up with kids that learn how to do that. And these are the ones that come into society and you learn how to game society. And those are the ones that typically end up finding at least, success as defined by a capitalist society, right? You end up with the big house and the fence and the kids and the whole nine. It's funny. So my wife's an entrepreneur now, and it's so funny. We found ourselves really grateful for the position we found ourselves in because she's meeting all these other entrepreneurs and all these other people that have really like kind of taken the cap off of their earnings potential,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't have a salary. I work my ass off. I found myself here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And we find so often that, you could prioritize that, and it comes at a cost of a lot of the more self-care driven habits and the things
Mm-hmm.
that make life more fulfilling. And so she finds a lot of people that have like found the capitalism success, and now
Mm-hmm.
they're searching for like the personal success. And you
Yeah.
find that sort of
Yeah.
narrative a lot. And so I think we took a lot of time to figure out some of our own more like personal successes, and now we
Yeah.
feel a lot better about finding the capital success. Like, okay, now like how do we figure this out? And, I don't know, interesting journey. I don't even know how I got on that.
I mean, it
Flowing.
is. I mean, this is what life will do, but you're just trying to figure out is like, what brings happiness, what brings up my own personal definition of success. Like, I've realized that it isn't like the amount of money I would want. It really isn't even that much. Like, and it's because there isn't like, I know the things that make me happy. I'm happy creating things. I'm happy, like, give me like 10 hours. I think that one birthday, I think I had one birthday. It was probably like 40 or something. I turned 40. I spent 10 hours on city skylines, let myself go for it, and just sat on my porch with just a nice drink, and I had so much fun. Because I don't usually do that. Like, I don't usually step away and just like zone out on like one thing that's just like a game that I just love. And I just had a ball just on my porch, relaxing.
See, but I agree and disagree.
Okay, go for it.
I agree that finding those things, the personal fulfillment things, are I think paramount, right? And because you're right, usually
Mm-hmm.
ends up being not very expensive, very
Mm-hmm.
personal, very reflective in the whole nine, all day. But what I think affords you that luxury is that you found yourself positioned in what is a pretty lucrative industry in
Yeah.
technology, right?
Yep.
And I say this within the context of some of the things I'm trying to tell the kids, and a lot of it is kind of shifting my own narrative because there are things that I love to do that do not align with lucrative markets, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm trying to kind of balance. my skill set in lucrative markets and my passion projects in the non-lucrative markets. Immediate example, I love writing. I love writing fiction. I love writing poetry. I
Hmm.
love writing. Writing is a tough field to build a life around at this point in time in our society, right? Great to do, great hobby, great and a great career if you could build your life around like the inconsistencies of a writer's life, right? The same is true for actors. Acting is a tough field to build a life around. You got to juggle that with some other shit, right? So like
Yep. Yep.
it's a that's a lot of my conversation right now is like how do you build a life around a skill that has current marketable value and juxtapose that with the crafts and hobbies and
Yeah.
skills that you love to do, but maybe not as in demand at the time.
I mean, you're absolutely right. But also, I think really where I was trying to get at too is just also just understanding like what are the things that actually bring pure joy, because you can go down that path of just like tons and tons of consumerism. I need more. I need more. I need more money because I could buy this next thing. I can buy this next thing. I can buy this next thing. And a lot of times that doesn't bring happiness. Like I've bought and sold all types of stuff, or like when I just look around my house, it's like, man, I spent a lot of money on that. I don't use it. I don't care. It just filled that void at that one time where I wanted to, or I just needed something. So, just being more intentional on your spending and really what, the things that make you happy, and less of keeping up with those Joneses, less of like, I gotta do this because, my neighbor, what will the neighbors think? Actually, I thought about that recently because I just started having to drive now that I have a kid. So I barely drove before, barely had to drive at all. I've been in a relationship for like 7 years. So I have a 2011 Nissan Altima with a couple dents on it. So I started having to drop off my kid at school. My car stinks in comparison to the other parents' cars. I started thinking about it. I was like, man, I've been thinking about getting something just because I want something bigger. But it is like one of those moments where it's like, yeah, look at all these fancy cars everyone has. I need to get one of
Yeah.
these. And, but I thought about it again. It was like, you know what? I'm not really, cars aren't really my thing. If they were my thing, then yeah, like go for it. But it's not really my thing in the first place. It is more of like, I look at it more as utility. So eventually I will cop my minivan or something, or something
Ooh.
around that route, because I don't drive much. I really don't like to drive. So, I'll get something for my lifestyle. But that was one of those points where I could have saw my brain going down that path. It was like, you know what? I actually need this because I need to keep up with the other families here. But no, that's not what I want to do.
No, man. I think we've been talking about that recently in the house, like picking the thing you want to splurge on,
Yeah.
that being your thing.
Yeah.
Everything else, shave it back.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I've enjoyed a life in tech is because I enjoy tech in general. I enjoy the gadgets. I enjoy the new updates. I enjoy doing it. For me, it's something I'm either going to splurge on or something I'm going to build some earning power around. And I kind of went that latter route of saying, okay, I told the kids like, man, y'all are going to get all sorts of cool toys as I dive deeper into mixed reality, right? Like all sorts of crazy shit. And like, and because I'm excited about kind of the
Yeah.
peripherals in that space, then cool. But then there are other things that like I don't care as much about. So why would I take as much time, energy, and money into exploring these things just to keep up with the Joneses? And there are a lot of Joneses to keep up with. There are a few things I do want to change, right? Like a few Joneses we try to keep up with. Travel a lot more. I don't travel a whole lot, but it's something that I think does bring some value to one's experience. So I think where I
I
travel
think that's the moment though that transitions from a Jones to a thing that you want, because
value.
yeah, you saw
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
feels like a Jones just because you're like, hey, other people are doing it, but then like you found the value and why you want to do it. So, I mean, it's fine getting that inspiration from other folks, but then just, doing the reflection of like, what value does it give me? It's like, yeah, it's right. Like,
Yeah.
That's dope that they pick those things up. But continue.
Yeah, no, it's really grateful for that because it's kind of given me a little bit more reason. I get very apathetic just from years of just kind of backpacking myself as like a
Hmm.
younger adult. It's way easier to shrink yourself than it is to enlarge
Hmm.
your resources. At least that was my mentality, right? Like it's easier
Yeah.
for me to just shave expenses than it is for me to make more money. My wife is very different as a PRN ER nurse.
Yeah.
She was. It's way easier for me to just pick up more shifts and make more money than it is for me to
Yeah.
shrink my
Yeah.
lifestyle, right? So we collide on like the way that we view money and the way we view earnings and the way we view expenses. And so only recently have I kind of gotten into the field of like, all right, well, like how can I earn more money instead of always having to shave expenses? But my go-to is usually shaving expenses, and I don't know. I shave expenses for everything that I don't overly want to
I
dive
mean,
into.
both of us spent a significant amount of time working in education. I think that's really where that starts.
What's that?
Spending a significant time working in
Oh,
education
yeah.
where, unfortunately your pockets get beat up pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it does become, one of those things where it's like, what can I do? I gotta spend less. I gotta save more. I gotta do
Yeah.
these things. And,
Gotta eat these school lunches.
yeah, it's hard. I got screwed over a lot of money while working in education just because it
Ooh.
was like, you're gonna get a bonus. It's not gonna happen, because this and that or the third happened. I'm just gonna make up some stuff, blah, 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 but you're not gonna get it.
And
Even though I promised it to you.
this is one of the things that I'm excited for AI is to visit these industries that are typically slower to move. Education is a slow moving industry. Healthcare is a slow moving industry, right? Like tech is always boom, boom, boom.
Hmm.
But some of these older ones that don't deliver, I don't want to get into that rabbit hole, but some of these typically more slower moving industries, I don't think move as quickly. And I'm really excited to see what AI does with education.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot.
Yeah, and it's a very interesting world we have ahead of us and just integrating these tools. I know this is going to be a topic. This is not like a one episode topic. It's
No.
something that, it is part of life and it is part of just, it's the tool that's here and we got to figure out. And that's always been my mentality since these things first dropped. It was like, I'm not going to be resistant. I need to use them. I need to use
Yeah.
them so I can understand the future and, again, coming from the education space or coming from the entrepreneurial space where I have been pretty broke in the past, it's like I got to make sure that I know what's going on so I can make sure that me and my family can survive.
Yeah.
At the very end of the day, I need to know what's going on so that, we can pay our bills and we can still have some form of a life and we're not struggling.
I will get into this another show, but I got big into trading last year, and the trading platform that I use for a lot of my advising is really big on that from a political level. They're saying like,
Hmm.
hey, we want to make sure that what you're learning is around how you can best situate yourself and your family based on the fiscal policies that are coming from Congress, that
Hmm.
are coming from the White House. No matter what your political policies
Hmm.
might be, your financial policy needs to be one that's in line with what's happening in your government, what's happening on your national, what's happening on your local level government. And that has in many ways kind of shaped or at least segmented my politics. There's a this is what I believe from a
Hmm.
social standpoint, and this is what I
Hmm.
believe from a fiscal standpoint, and this is how I vote, but this is how I move my money, right? And
Hmm.
that's always
Yeah.
more of a kind of a responsive narrative of this is what's happening in the world. This is how I should move this is how I should move my funds. Before that, I don't think I ever really looked at money and fiscal policy in that way. It was just always
Hmm.
like a company by company basis. And now everything to me seems to be a little bit more sector and industry
Okay.
oriented, and that's kind of shaped the way that I end up having these thoughts with my kids, the way I've been kind
Yeah.
of formulating my own side hustles and passion projects because it's all just kind of interlinked together.
Yeah. I what's interesting also with like the trading thing. So again, my initial background was in like finance.
Yeah.
There's a Reddit forum called Boggleheads. Basically, the philosophy is just around low cost index funds, and just go get the low cost index funds. Try to do on a regular cadence and call it a day has been what I've been trying to stick to these days. I think I told you, like I went and got the financial advisor, and I did that specifically. This actually comes back to what you were talking about earlier. I got a financial advisor specifically because I lost a whole weekend trying to figure out where to put my money and where to put all of our money.
That's not a lost weekend.
No, so I looked at it as a lost weekend. The reason I looked at it as a lost weekend was because I'm not passionate about managing money, number one. And number two, there were other things that I wanted to do that would have made me more money, right? So going into the thing about things that you can do that make you more money, like I can offload this thing that I don't enjoy doing. I'm reading a bunch of stuff and I missed a full weekend. It was actually a pretty free weekend. I feel like our kid was at grandma's, but it was like a weekend I could have gotten more into the content. That's why I felt like it was a lost weekend. It was just like, I can offload this. I can get some help with this and get more professional management. And then I can spend more of like my extra time working on other things that can bring more money into our pot versus just trying to maximize our money. So then looked at the cost of it and was like, comparing that cost versus like, what is like my hourly rate, or like, what do I think I can do with like some of these? I believe the amount that I'm paying for the financial advisor, I believe, if I got on my game, I can make that. I can make that and way more. So it's like, let me invest in this tool that will manage all of our stuff. And again, it's more than investments. It's estate planning, it's insurance, it's the whole gambit. So it's like I can offload that part of my brain now and focus on endeavors. I'll make that money back with the time I'm saving.
Yeah. That's fair. I haven't gone the financial advisor route. I went the route of options trading. Much to my chagrin. It's been fun and I want to keep it up. But
yeah, I mean, that's the key word right there. It's been fun.
It has been. And I enjoy it. But you're right. It is finding that value for yourself. It's not, at this point, I saw a meme when I first started doing it. And it was this guy going through all the motions of options trading, and he was talking to his girlfriend or something. He was like some little high school kid, and he was like, "Oh, I did this, and I set my losses, and I set my ups and my downs, and then he's like, and at the end of like this like 6-month quarter, I made like $81." He's like, you did all that, and you made like $81. And he's like, yeah, and I got to that point myself about a year later. And I got about $80 off of some position. I remember bragging to my wife about it. I was like, I got $80. I was like, oh man, it happened. It happened to me. But like, you be happy. You're happy about that $80 because you went through hell and high water for that 80. Because with options trading, at one point you're like down $600. Another point you're like up $800. And he's like, all right, $80. Yeah, I didn't lose anything. I actually got a gas tank. I got a gas tank worth. I'm like, put like thousands in here and I got $80. This is great. Yeah, it is that. But man, it's fun. I'll do it in like simulate. I do a lot of my simulated account. If it's just like a late night and I'm like having like a bourbon or something, like, hey, let me just get in and just play some crazy trades. Hey man, good talk.
So I think that was a good talk. Thanks for listening. See you next time.